right, we're live. If you're watching this VOD, it will likely be because I'm on vacation. Unless you're watching it on Twitch. If you're watching this on YouTube, I am on vacation. So this week and last week's video. Holy shit, I didn't even bother to open Twitch. Let me open Twitch. Anyways, the VODs from last week and then this week. I have to mute this. Okay. Will basically just be saved until I'm on vacation for the next 2 weeks. So, creator dashboard. I'm live. Oh, thank you. Cool. All right, I'm in there. I can actually see people now. Anybody shows up when anybody shows up. But yep. Let me respond quick. Hopefully everybody's having a nice enough day. The weather's decent. Like it's sunny. So it's sunny, it's not too chilly. So I'm actually a few minutes late. My dog bit me a little bit. Because I felt really bad that I didn't have enough time to throw the ball for him on the balcony. We've got a pretty big balcony. So I wanted to get some ball throwing in for him for a few minutes. We've got a pretty big balcony and he's pretty tiny, so it works out pretty well. So we're throwing the ball around a little bit, and now I just ran back down here. So about 15 minutes late. Hey Justin, hey Pattis, hey Nicodemus. Living good. What's up, Seek and Destroy? How you guys doing? No music in the background at the moment. We'll hop in game in a minute, and I want to look in and validate a couple of bugs. And kind of take it from there. Now that we've got our own channel, which if you're watching the VOD, be sure to go by Twitch and follow the Monsters and Memories channel. Now that we've got our own, category, now we'll feel quite as bad about just spending a stream or two just playing. So if anybody comes in, we're no longer sitting in the software development category. We're actually in our category, so it should be fine for us to sit around and play the game. But let me respond to this comment in Discord really quick, and then I will give you my full attention. All right, let me minimize this so it doesn't, let me hop in here, get some music going. Yeah, so I'll mention this a few times this stream so people know, but this week is these are my last streams before I'm on vacation for about 2 weeks. I'm going to be in the US visiting my family for a couple of weeks. So that should be good. I meant to click settings there and see if that's been updated. I don't think it's been updated. I was going to see if it's been updated to allow me to change the volume settings while I'm still at character select. Oh man, coffee's kicked in. which means I am sleepy. Sorry, I can't give you any background sound until I get in game and can change my settings. Justin, you asked about cookie points. Are they chocolate chip points? They are chocolate chip cookies on the little image below is definitely chocolate. All right. Yeah, I promised some sound. Poor Pattis. Yeah, Pattis. I swear Pattis has been sick since we met. All right, so let me go test this bug really quick that I have up. Make myself invulnerable. Peace. Come on, buddy. So but the bug report was that someone was fighting a Steel Talon recruit, and then this guy started whacking on him. So let me reset this actually. Turn off aggro. He should stop for a minute and gather his wits. So it's like a two-part bug in my opinion. Well, now he's going back. So he's going back. So next thing I need to do, I don't know if the Steel Talon recruits walk around at night. So let's go ahead. We're going to see if anybody's in the zone with us, but I'm not being rude. Time set 6 a.m. Hurrah. Reload the zone to clean it up. Cool. All right, so I'll wait for some Steel Talon recruits to appear. Turn aggro back on. They should be coming. There we go. Hey, Chaz Solo. All right. So I'm gonna start fighting them, and then see if anybody joins in the festivities. Hello, C-Jack. Hey, MMO Pug. All right, so we'll just wait here for him. We'll give him a couple minutes. and then we'll engage them in a fight, and we'll see if the priest here comes out and attacks me. I don't think they will though. Let me dig this bug up again. So, oh, there it is. I already have it open. Killing a Steel Talons trainee outside the temple. At one point, the trainee fell through the temple and my pet followed it. The priest inside aggroed me. I came out of the temple to deliver some justice. Or they came out. Feign death outside and it won't pass back. Okay. Compiling user feedback data today and my brain is melting out of my ears. How are we doing in here today? What sort of user feedback is Jack? Oh, Pattis, I haven't seen the video or whatever. I haven't seen the VOD for that. Did you eat something or get stuck by something or what happened? Why did you have to almost EpiPen yourself? I've been thinking that I need to take Benadryl when I drink wine lately. Trying to find different wines that don't make my skin itch. Hey Keith. Freddy Krueger, hello. TJX said we did a closed playtest on some features. Search term, star stable, horse progression. And got lots of feedback, which I'm now categorizing into group and issues and tallying current. Well, that sounds like it's a way to spend the day. Have I tried sulfur-free wines? I've looked for some, but short of going to the actual wine store where people might know a little bit more about what they're selling, I haven't really been able to easily pick up on which is available. I did some looking to see, but it just wasn't readily apparent to me on the yeah. So it doesn't always happen. I felt like it was happening a little bit more lately. It could be a combination of things. Whitechapel, thank you for 13 months. How are you? All right, there's the trainees. They were walking through the market. I was wondering what was going on. This thing, it feels like this thing moved. But then again, I'm doing weird minimizing and maximizing of the screen in the editor. Nicodemus said I gotta run out of here in a few minutes and get lab stuff done. I'm in serious need of coffee and can't wait till I get back. I just had a coffee and I feel like I'm in serious need of another coffee. This one just did not satisfy me. Hey, Demon Injected. Alright, so I see nothing all that unusual about the behavior of these guys. There's nothing unusual about the aggro range of the priest. So something weird must have happened. It could be. Could be the server was in a weird state on test. Alright. So Nope, they specifically named the Priest of Rel. So let me go aggro him again. Okay, right. CGX said, currently tapering off my antidepressants and I feel like my coffee requirements have tripled. That kind of makes a little sense, right? Anytime you're doing something with your brain chemistry, having something like that change in terms of... Here, let me turn this off. Potential wants or whatever. Turn off my aggro. But a bunch of other health stuff is massively improved, so it's a net win. That's good to hear. Is there going to be any NPCs that warn you away instead of just attacking? Toot Master, we have a system in mind that we want to get in, but it's not been like a... It's not so urgent that it's been prioritized above other stuff, but we have a system in mind that we'd like to get in that's essentially an additional layer of aggro, like a additional awareness radius that then allows us to broadcast or do whatever, like a warning or seem interested or whatever. But to basically give an additional level of feedback prior to just coming at you. So eventually, it's likely we'll eventually have that in. And it'll have flexibility to allow us to do a number of different things. Warning from guards or a monster in the distance, you know, maybe pauses and look in your direction, that type of shit. Just, but again, we don't have it yet. New lock, hello. So the bug is not a bug at the moment. There's a number of things that could have been going on that I don't know that I can replicate. I guess in theory I could try 2 more things instead of being lazy. I could hop out. I could make a pet class. I could see what happens if I path my pet up onto the temple object and see if that is the problem. The fact that it is a pet doing weird stuff. And then I'm assuming they were a Beastmaster them because they have had a pet and feigned death, I think so. So delete, yes, create. Huh? Oh, I didn't do what I was supposed to do. I just pushed a random button and not the create button. UJX says, I would be looking at the stealth systems and a bunch of games for that sort of aggro warning system. Yeah, we're looking at a few. Matter of fact, I just, a week or two ago, was watching Luna play ESO and looking at her rogue there. I think once we've got sort of the base for that other system will help. It'll integrate with stealth systems and things like concepts like perception. But I think it's kind of its own little tool on its own. And then when it comes to rogues and stealth and stealth related abilities and repercussions and all that stuff, that'll be separate. Did you share your stealth based fishing bug catching system for WLG here? No, I don't think you did. I'm looking at the link now. Just snatching fishes up. That's fun. Call Jono said, I was looking through the classes of M Wiki and there were multiple of each armor type wearers except for male. This is how it was in Vanilla WoW. On Alliance side, it made male drop seem a bit lackluster and less valuable on the market. Any plans to add or change other class to chainmail? I can't honestly list them offhand at the moment. So Call, that would be something to ask us in Discord so that other people can also chime in, like Nick and folk. One thing to consider with that as well, and I don't know that it necessarily changes what you're saying once you hit a certain level. That's just there's utility of those pieces depending on what they are to people that can wear up to plate. Since they're not, it's not that they have to exclusively wear plate. So, but I'd have to look and see which classes: shaman, rogue. Who else do we have on the list? That's kind of like capping out there. Archer. Ranger. Not sure if Spellblade as well. So what we say? I think Archer. Yeah, and there's some things related to that I don't know that I'm gonna say here because they're kind of a can of worms, but there's some ideas on armor restrictions and even mixing and matching armor restrictions and stuff like that that I think would be good for us to discuss. Where was I? Making a Beastmaster to test stuff. So let me enter the world. Sorry to have a kind of a lame answer for you, Call Jono, but I'm not gonna speak on it if I'm not fairly certain of the thinking there. Yeah, because one way to look at it is we all start as cloth wearers, and then depending on your class, you may go into leather, and then you may go into mail, and you may go into plate over time, and it just really becomes then a question of what pieces are available at what point in the progression, all of that stuff. Beastmaster needs 2 ferrets, one named Poto and the other one Kodo. It would be cool if we could have you have 2 ferrets, and then you could see through the eyes of an eagle or a hawk, I guess. Was it a hawk? It was a hawk. All right, so here I am. GM on. Set level, I don't know, 30. Congrats me. Let me... Think you missing the jockstrap progression. Zukin actually has some nice like tidies that you can wear. I don't know if we're wearing them yet. Nope. Still in the jockstrap. He's got some boxer briefs that he worked up that I think would be good to toss on. All right, so I need a pet. Beastie pet. Pet? Bing, bing, bing. All right, there's a bunch of rats here. Bunch of rat tears. Do rats need reagents? Okay, does the rat pet spell need a reagent? Seems like you should require a reagent, like a piece of cheese or something. Plate jockstrap would be harsh. Major chafing. I don't know that that's true. There are actual, you can get, when I was training Muay Thai, you can get the like hardcore from Thailand metal jock. Hey, Norden. Now, I would say that a plate mail, like plate mail underwear, might be a little uncomfortable. But the metal jock is similar to any other like plastic or whatever jock. I do believe the edges are rubberized. Yeah. All right. So you want those things that Droogs wear in A Clockwork Orange? I think those were just big padded cod pieces. Hey, Rat Companion. There you are. And now I also need to probably summon myself a feigned death. Because again, I'm assuming... what they did was this. This is not the one then. Oh. What? No. Wait. Wait a second. I'm level 30. This is for monks, necros, and shadow knights. I go to spells. Not scribing. Go to innate. Not scribing. It shouldn't be a skill. So I'm gonna delete this. And then I want to try this other one. All right, well then. Let me put this one and the previous one back in my inventory. Let me reload zone. Kaicho said those bookmark tabs are awesome. They are beautiful Ali art. Also, the recent update was very girthy and great to read. Well, I am glad you appreciated it. Did you read all of the patch notes? Did you see all those patch notes? So many patch notes, right? All right, one last try. I could be, I mean, honestly, I can just fire the spell manually. Not quite sure what's the problem, man. Level 30, so I'm assuming I've met any spell requirement. Destroy. Destroy. Okay, well, you know what I'm gonna do? I'm just gonna fire the damn spell myself. Pain Death. Come in. Cast. Describe all spells GM command work for Beastmaster. I'll be honest with you. I don't know that I've ever even. I think I used it months and months and months and months ago. I don't know. What is the help? What's the actual command? Describe all spells. That's the command. All right. I guess that's the command. Let's try it. Describe all spells. I have learned the ability kick, shoot, strike, throw. Am I that's what's going wrong. I think I just am full of shit and I made an assumption. I assumed that the Beastmaster had feigned death. I don't know that that's actually true. Let me reread this bug. All right. Oh, you know what they could have been? They could have been a necro. How silly of me. Why did I immediately assume Beastmaster? All right, Rat Pet, it's been real. We're on the wrong class. All of that for nothing. And I'm even looking at it, right? Like I'm looking at the scroll and it says Monk. And it says Shadow Knight. And it says Necro. And I'm like, why won't it go into my Beastmaster book? Over and over and over again. I tried 2 different scrolls. I reloaded the zone. You guys watched me do it. Don't laugh at me. You're just as guilty. Even worse. Even worse. I am in the cockpit of this magnificent beast. Trying to, you know, make all of this stuff happen. All you're doing is you're just listening and watching. Watching me make a fool out of myself. Man, not a single bit of loyalty in chat. Leaving me hanging. Ugh. Oh, man. Not a bit of love. Let me check the settings button. Nope, so it doesn't do anything. Okay. Answer that question. All right. As a little human necromancer, time for you to go to work. And also time to stop pretending like I'm actually going to play you legitimately. Someone has to lead. Stonewall Jackson did lose a finger. I don't know that I don't know that I picture these things being similar. Doo-doo-doo. All right, here I am. Cheating. Stonewall Jackson was also shot by his own men. Well, I don't know that that actually changes anything. If anything, it makes the example still work with the fact that you guys didn't help me out. So, also, I don't know that I believe that. That may just be something you Yankees tell yourselves. Hey, Isan. Cool. I have feigned death. And I am playing a necromancer, right? And I used drive all spells. Yeah. And that's all the spells I got? That seems odd. Wonder what I'm doing wrong. Hey, Temporus. Gilly pet. Let's say... Cool. All right. So the trick will be to next time there's some trainees, recreate this bug. Let's get time of day right. Let's say time set 7 a.m. Then they'll come a walking. Where do they go? Do they go into the market? Is that what's going on? Man. But have I turned the sound down too far now? Did you guys ever consider tokenizing certain items and putting them on chain? Knuckles, nope. Nope. Nope, nope. We don't really need them on chain. We've got them in our database. I think the only time there's any sort of even minor thought on my end about anything blockchain related, It was in thinking about different equity schemes and things like that, or fan tokens, things of that nature. But even that was just thinking out loud and going, hey, wish there were more interesting, obvious solutions in this area, but none of them really seem to make sense or feel right. So, nope. Love seeing the guards walking in pairs. Yeah, I mean, for the time being, it's brute forced, right? It's actually just two paths. So if we load it up, and Knuckles, that's one of those things where, yeah, the market thing, it's a weird one, right? Because on one hand, you can always see where putting proper support in and escrow for the sale of items or characters between players prevents certain headaches and allows players to extract value for their time in real world terms. On the flip side, what it does is it then creates a condoned market, a supported market, which then is essentially condoning the behavior of selling in-game effort for real-world currency, which, you know, that's just it's such a bad direction for a game like the one that we're making, in regards to it eventually creates like that sense of condoning behavior of, hey, I'm gonna go in and like legitimize you farming these items for cash, right? And then it immediately creates that sense as well of us saying, hey, if you want to spend real world money to circumvent the challenges of the world, then here you go, right? It's like the chrono market in EQ, or I forget the name of the same thing in RuneScape, etc., etc. Seems like it would help prevent black markets. Sometimes black markets are just better, right? Sometimes, like, knowing that's a little bit of shit's going on the side, and as the sheriff, we kind of let it ride. Sometimes that's the best way to do it, right? You know, it's like if little Timmy's like sold his character on eBay for $5,000 or something, a la old school EQ, then that's one of those things where I think we kind of just got to go, all right, well, shit happens. And then if people are like, oh, well, if you're not banning little Timmy's character from being used, then now you're condoning it or whatever. It's like, no, justice in our world works just like justice in the real world. It's just totally up to our discretion. Kind of half-assed, but if that way we can say, you know what, we're not going to ban little Timmy's avatar. On the flip side, if your necro sitting in one camp just being a complete annoyance and farming shit, then we might go, yeah, you know what, we are going to give you a warning because you're being annoying, right? And you know, if we're monitoring accounts that look like they're farming gold, then yeah, we'll deal with that as well. See, you know what I mean? Like it's kind of a damned if you do, damned if you don't kind of situation. I mean, I guess you could just be completely hard line on it, and maybe that's the right answer, and maybe that might be where we ultimately land. So Keith, yeah, I was just showing everybody. Currently, we don't have, you know, the ability to do formations or anything like that. I think the request has been put in. But even if we do formations, they won't be linked mobs. I really didn't like that in EQ2, to be honest with you. All right, so you know what? I just followed these sons of bitches all over the place so that I could attack them. And then went rambling and didn't even do it. I'm draining your life. And your friend's not helping you. Come on, pet. Come on, pet. So like the real money trading in Diablo 3, remember that disaster? Yeah, not well received, right? I remember players in Swig selling Jedi characters for thousands of dollars on eBay. Yeah, we it was just interesting to see that phenomenon as a as like a GM when I first got in the industry. Yeah, so Luna was pointing out, well, there you go. Nothing weird happened. All right, I'm gonna close this bug because we've already seen this guy path back. I think the pet falling through the world could be any number of things that were happening on that night. All right, so here we go. We're gonna close the bug. We're gonna say, we're gonna tag it with, what's the appropriate tag here? Cannot reproduce. And we're going to close it. Was unable to reproduce. Norton says guards walking together is cool. Would be cool to see guards in patrol formations in rough neighborhood, market, bazaars, etc. Yeah, so Luna had actually pointed it out in relation to like herds of animals and things like that. Yeah, and Knuckles, full disclosure, my stance on the inclusion of like blockchain, using blockchain instead of database or whatever, you know, in crypto in general, like my stance on using it in games being like kind of meh. I still haven't seen it. And it's interesting. I've had some fairly high level folks that I know in the industry hit me up about games that they're going to make or wanting to make or opportunities and stuff like that. And each time I was just like, I don't see it, right? All of the other sort of issues with, yeah, like Turnip just said, PR and stuff like that, within the gaming community. I don't know how much, based on the money that we've seen come in or whatever from different things. It's very hard to separate the gaming community from Twitter and Reddit. So who knows? So when we say like, oh, it's, you know, it's got a very bad PR, I say that as well. So I'm not picking on what you're saying, Turnip. But I would say that's been one of those things that I've seen throughout my time in the industry, where the team's like, oh man, this has really got people upset, or hey, the players don't like X or whatever. And then if you actually just look at the objective data, you know, the straight like the straight quantitative data, it's like, well, the players' money disagrees, right? The players are obviously, you know, it's we're hearing a lot of this, but people are still doing a lot of this. So, like, oh, Candy Crush is the silliest game on earth, as it makes another $1 billion, right? That kind of thing. So, Fortnite is lame, as it makes another $1 billion. Or, you know, it's just, so, not to dismiss anybody's opinion based strictly off of the money that's coming in, but at some point businesses have a way of being businesses. So like if there was an obvious like compelling reason to use blockchain that I could find, then I would hop in it. Like, okay, so Esan said Roblox has a lot of my kids. A lot of my money. Kid loves the game though. So if a platform like Roblox isn't using the blockchain to help enable a better experience with the ownership of assets, then I've got to wonder why any other MMO would need it. Because even if we were wanting to facilitate the sale of assets between players, right? Like, we know every flaming sword in our game is unique. We track its life, you know, its sort of life cycle through we track its life cycle through the game, from origin to deletion or whatever. So we don't really need it, right? The only there is one place where I could see potentially blockchain, an open ledger, a distributed ledger being used, and it's a really weird thing, but I don't know if it makes any freaking sense at all. But my thought was, what about the actions, customer service actions taken? So essentially, anytime customer service is doing anything that may be perceived as having an impact on the game, especially giving people warnings or banning accounts, then maintain that on a distributed ledger. So it's not like we're lying behind the scenes, and it gives transparency to the game police. Right? That was literally the only thing I could think of where I was like, maybe that has some utility there. I don't know. But even that's kind of like me pulling ideas out of my ass, right? That would quickly become a case of, we want transparency. No, not like that. Now you're shaming my shit behavior. How dare you? The man. My drawing, thank you for the follow. Tempera says, there's obviously a difference, but strong Twitter and Reddit sentiment does have a habit of spreading out into the wider audience if it stays around too long. Yeah, but in both good and bad ways. Harry Potter game sold how many what? Pre-orders? Oh, sorry. That was like a really stupid way of doing it. I apologize. I should just actually cough. Stop trying to be cool. Should implement Chat GTP or GPT. I don't know. I'll always transpose those number letters, whatever's. Yeah, when it becomes smarter. I've seen some of the views that Chat GPT has expressed. Doesn't seem like it's necessarily brilliant yet. Tempura says, and as gamers, we do tend to get passionate. Honestly, I think anybody on the internet that doesn't really have to face repercussions for the way they express their passion gets passionate. I don't think it's just gamers. I think it's anybody that doesn't have to actually say the shit to someone's face. But I definitely appreciate the passion of gamers. It's my industry. It's what pays me sometimes. Said, take Destiny 2. I have a lot of complaints with the game, but I keep buying it each year. But part of that is I'm invested in certain parts. The story mostly. Oh, that's cool. My complaints pertain to the parts I've become uninvested in and would like to become invested in again. But from Bungie's point of view, they're still getting my money. Yeah, and when that's happening, then it's going to happen. Oh, Weltmacht. Yeah, all I gotta do is get sold. They can take me out to dinner. Dargit says, whenever my engineers ask to use some new technology, I always ask the same key questions. or ask them key questions. What problems does this solve for us? What problems does this introduce for us? How much will it cost to adopt it? You're forgetting the more modern, politically correct question as well. What problems does this solve for our customer? Almost universally, once they start trying to answer those questions, they convince themselves it's unnecessary for whatever we're trying to do. Point being that most hype tech really has practical applications for most solutions. Yeah. Temper said, so I guess what I'm saying is even if something is still making money, the complaint shouldn't be dismissed outright. There are many reasons the money is still made, but the feedback maybe is still valid. Oh, absolutely. I have a way of saying things where I think sometimes my responses come off as if I'm not, you know, like I'm one-sided on that. No, I mean, I've argued for just as long as I've argued for the qualitative feedback, or sorry, the quantitative feedback. You've got to factor in the quantitative as well. And if anything, I would say I probably have argued more in my career about the feel or the zeitgeist of the community, or qualitative feedback that we're seeing that may be a smaller trend, but it's got a longer term effect that's not being considered right now. Right? So there's a lot of... No, Veltmach, you did not need a sarcasm in your comment. I totally read it as sarcasm and used my very deadpan delivery to throw the sarcasm back at you. Yeah, the things that we've tried, I mean, on a previous team, we wound up live streaming and doing a fair bit with the community to try to just get better and better qualitative feedback that we could then turn into a form of quantitative feedback that we could then take to upper management. We worked with a company in the past. I thought it was pretty cool. Felt it was encouraging, but then when we started this game, it was just too early, and it wound up just not really having the use case that I thought. But we had worked with a company at one point that has a service that actually measures customer sentiment, and then does some nice like word clouds and other, like, lots of little tools to kind of see what are some of the recurring themes and keywords and stuff like that that comes up. So yeah, nope, I do not disagree with you at all on that front, Temporis. I'm mainly making a semi-smart-ass, unnecessary comment about some of the attitudes on the internet. That's my persona. I had to have that conversation where I was mentioning that a little bit earlier. Sometimes I say stuff and it just comes out as like, I don't know. Maybe it comes out too dismissive or too abrupt or too caustic or toxic in the modern terminology. And maybe I shouldn't do that when interacting with folk. Let me look and see if there's a new bug while I'm rambling. There's a different bug that I can fail to reproduce. Issues. Filter. Find. Cool. If there's anything obvious. Anyways, to end that thought, but I think I try to be super diplomatic at times, right? Like there are times when I'm really watching what I'm saying, I try to be hey J Bombo, you're late for therapy. Join our what are the circles called when you're in therapy? I've been in enough of them that I should be able to know the terminology. Anyways, trust circle. No, Mr. Fokker, I don't think that's it. Cuddle Puddle? No, we didn't do that. There's no cuddling. They explicitly said no cuddling. And I took it to heart. It's not a cuddle puddle. Yeah, it's just group therapy. You're right. It's just group therapy, yeah, obvious. And I've been in enough group therapy that what I'm saying cannot be misconstrued as me mocking it. Scrolling through bugs. Anyways, yeah, I mean, I try to be as empathetic and professional and sort of clear as possible in a number of situations where I'm either dealing with the community or the team. And then other times it's just like, it just comes out and I'm like, I don't know what to tell you. Yep, I said it. And at the end of the day, we'll see if that works. Hopefully people on the team don't get too annoyed, and hopefully we have enough of you out there that don't get frustrated with some shit that I popped off with, that we're able to support a live game. But yeah, what I'm not going to do is start like becoming all fake and corporate-y and running stuff through our PR department and all that good shit. And I hope the team, you know, again, can find a nice balance as well and doesn't wind up doing that. All right. It's like when we start filtering stuff through, like in both directions, like community people and stuff, I understand I'm not disparaging or minimizing the need for solid community folks, but when all of a sudden you filter everything through other people, then it gets pretty weird. And over time, it also gets a little, I've noticed Stockholm syndrome can happen as well with community teams, because it sucks to deal with like all the complaints all the time. Like CS and community teams are like, oh my God, I'm inundated with complaints all day. That's my life. Then they start to become more and more like, the team doesn't listen, man. And we're here for you, players. We really do want to make your life better. Or they go the opposite direction and get kind of jaded. Temper said, my biggest annoyance with a number of live service / MMO games is that they often feel like they only look at the data. Players keep doing this, so clearly they're enjoying it. It can't clearly be that the game makes the players feel like they're forced to do it, because they'd be at a disadvantage if they didn't. I know that it feels like that. At least in my limited experience, I think what happens is the team is often caught between things that the community is conveying to them that they would like to address, that they believe in themselves. If you've watched any of my interviews with different developers, EQ developers, and if you haven't, just watch the last one with Paul Carrico, actually, and I think you'll pick up on a lot of this. Often the team is caught between the bigger business objectives and the direction provided by business leadership as to what they need to do or focus on, and what they would like to do and what the community wants to do. And sometimes, or often, it's, you know, that sort of Venn diagram, I guess, varies. And so, you know, because I don't want to frame this as the team and the customers versus the horrible corporate overlords or whatever. That's not always the case. But what the team's often dealing with that the players don't necessarily see or understand is they have a better understanding of their actual capacity or resource pool, right? And so that may be, it may be the amount that they can get done, or it may be the special, like the types of folks that they have on their team. And I mentioned the latter because it can be that you want to do X, Y, or Z, but you actually don't have people that can do those things. A lot of what running a live service is juggling competing priorities. And so depending on how well the team's structured, what the capabilities are of the team, what those competing priorities are, the communication within the team, any sort of pull from other departments or teams. This is especially the case if a team's reliant on shared sort of departments, right? If they've got service departments that are maybe doing certain things, like most commonly you'll see a shared pool of customer service, or your shared pool of potentially QA, platform potentially, like maybe the folks that take your money or run the website or whatever are our pool. I've seen situations, and this isn't great, where like all of tech is considered sort of like a shared pool, or they've got management that is external to the team itself. So that doesn't really work very well, right? And the reason why I mentioned that is, because it could be that the team needs new tooling in order to do something, not just like a feature or code, and they're not getting that tooling. So on the design side, they're limited. It could be that in order to address certain problems, a bigger refactor has to happen, and they're being expected to hit a certain business cadence with regards to delivery of a certain type of content. And so it can be hard for the producer or leadership of the team to make the case that, hey, we know that we're supposed to get the expansion done, or this big update done, or whatever, but we actually need a lot more time. We need to pull resources to go address this underlying problem, refactor this stuff, fix the bigger problem that's actually impeding our ability to be able to respond to certain player feedback. And this was kind of what was happening a bit with EverQuest when we were doing the 2 expansion a year kind of cadence, until it sounded like after I left, they maybe got a little bit better at this as well. But what we were trying to do was fix the live game with the things that we were doing for the expansion sort of in parallel at times. And then, the other thing with player feedback is, I think I did this once at a fan fair. I forget the city, maybe it was like Baltimore or something. But there's a person that stood up, and they were very angry, and they were very passionate about the main thing that's screwing up the game for everybody. And if this would only be listened to and fixed, if we just did this thing, and there's tons of people on the forums that are in agreement, if we just did this thing, it would fix so many problems. And I was like, all right, you're clearly passionate. We've definitely heard of that issue. Not dismissing you. Before we move forward, though, does anybody else in this room of 100, 200 people, whatever it was, does anybody else have an issue that they feel is actually more important than this gentle person's issue? Gentleman, probably. And a bunch of hands went up. All right, next person. And they're like, for the love of God, if you would just tackle this before that other bullshit, like this is the thing, and there's a bunch of people in the forums, I can show you the threads right now. Like, you got to do it. Okay, great. Anybody else have something that differs from these 2 people? And we did that for like 5 people, right? And I'm pretty sure we could continue to go through there. And so it's on us as developers to be aware of all of those as much as possible. Find a way to try to analyze the business impact, like the real actual business impact and community impact. And hey, Shifty. Never run a game by VR input alone. Yeah, probably not. Right? And so it's like we have to, a lot of times it's funny because the community will be like, these people don't listen to us and they don't know anything about what's important to this game. Meanwhile, the team's not only like reading every bit of that shit and discussing it and arguing about it and feeling bad about it during the day, they're going home and playing the game. They're in guilds with people that are telling them all of this stuff, right? But that's normal. I'm not complaining at all about that fact. That's what it is. It's been, you know, 20 years of my life, right? Like, and you know, and sometimes they're very, the people saying this stuff, the community is absolutely correct. Sometimes the team really does miss it, you know, like made a mistake or overlooked it or dismissed it and were wrong. You know, shit happens. These games are pretty big. And once the community, like once it's live, it goes from being a big project, like just making the game is difficult. Just making one of these is a sort of a difficult endeavor in terms of, you know, relative to maybe other types of software. But then once it's live, you're not just dealing with a piece of software anymore, right? Like you're dealing with this software that's being used in all sorts of weird ways, and you are dealing with sort of the sentiment part of the service, all of that stuff, right? And so, and again, none of that's complaints or like woe is me or anything. It's just reality. Hey Jazzman, hey Zubay. Churro dude, I thought you came in earlier. Oh, you're responding to Zubay. I've definitely seen cases where devs can listen too hard to community input, particularly when it comes to competitive games, and then end up catering to 1%. That takes expensive to 99. Yep, Shifty, that is actually that's one of those potential problems that's definitely going to stay on our radar, right? Because I feel like I've definitely been guilty of that in my past as well. Like, I enjoyed playing in a competitive fashion early on, and I enjoyed being a part of a group of competitive players. And then I feel like that was just kind of like, it just felt so hot shit that it was something we just kind of ran with. Plus, it felt like an easy way to make progress, if that makes sense. If you sort of take, if you take 1% out of it, or if you say, like Tempora said, calls them most hardcore players. Like if you take that out and you call them something like the leading edge players. Early on in my career, when I was on EQ, we found that it was a really interesting context in which to problem solve, right? So if you look at a raid, hey, what's up, Dark Inside? If you look at a raid, the various moving pieces and logistical challenges and the sort of intense nature, and also the skill level of the people sort of at the leading edge in that context, made it really fun as a designer to like want to tackle problems within that context, right? And so things like positioning, right? Positioning wound up being a fun challenge within that. It's like, oh, cool. If you look at early sort of approach to like a Nagi raid and the positioning of different classes there, or if you look at other raids and sort of positioning within a static context, that's pretty cool. That's pretty cool. What if we make the context more dynamic so that there's not one set sort of like best position, right? That was something I was thinking. I think the first time I tried something like that was that silly bird for Sarin, right? The goal was to keep her in a room that's round, so there's not necessarily a safe spot, because I knew she'd get pushed around, but then give her a bird that just travels around the room and stops and has the area effect, not complete, but an area effect silence that screws up the day for healers and casters, right? Like simple, very simple concept. But the whole idea was, how do we focus more on positioning, and having that be dynamic, right? Or having spawns that, you know, once we got scripting in for pop, it's like once a NPC hits a certain threshold or boss hits a certain threshold, have spawns that then have to be crowd controlled, and half of them are very magic resistant and have to be off tanked, and half of them are charmable, but also very durable, that kind of thing, right? And so it was a lot of just playing with mechanics that at the time it was like, we weren't seeing that in any other game. And so it was a great opportunity to push design forward. And those mechanics didn't necessarily need to be exclusive to the raid game over time. They could be mechanics that we could employ in group game or anywhere else in future games, right? So a lot of times it gets easy to get caught up in the leading edge, because the leading edge is where some of the more experimental work is being done, depending on the type of game and depending on what context you're establishing for the game. Now, what we were missing during all of that was there better things that we could be doing for to encourage the sense of place within the rest of the game? Is there stuff that we could be doing to make for a better experience, and sort of refining that early experience? Were there better things to do for role play, right? Or were there better social systems, right? That said, in the context of an MMO, a guild is like the primary social hook, and then you either had the people that were leading edge guilds or the people that were aspiring to be leading edge guilds, and we didn't put a lot of thought into what could be done for all of the other types of guilds, right? So yeah, it's a tricky business. I think, when you're not necessarily looking at pushing new design or new behavior or whatever, then there's less of an excuse. But even when we did Eldon, it was that was with everybody else in mind. It wasn't necessarily made strictly for like the hardest of the hardcore. It's like, okay, well, and now 6-person groups can start to experience something that feels a little bit more, potentially dynamic, or it allows us, the idea of instancing at the time, allowing us to control the player count variable, then meant that we could probably do more interesting stuff with groups, right? So yeah, live and learn. Feel that with our customer support teams, they feel like they work for the customer more than our company. Darkest said. Sometimes that back and forth is healthy. Let's see. 50 said, I've definitely seen cases where devs can listen too hard to community input. Okay, that's what triggered all of this ramble. And Dargest, are you replying to yourself? No, not really, because it takes on a very customer's always right mentality that is entirely unsustainable and leads to a lot of unreasonable asks and demands that aren't in the interest of the business. So you spend a lot of unnecessary time internally hashing out rather than having a support team understand those priorities and handling customer relationships in that context. Yeah, doing customer support in a very objective way is challenging. I've found, not to be critical of any sort of CMs or CS folks that I've worked with in the past, but I've absolutely seen those cases where it's like, you've got somebody in tears because they're so stressed for the community, and it's like you've got a tough job for sure. And I think part of the challenge with that may be, I think community management and customer service is often treated as like a kind of lower down the rung, not as important. They don't get paid as much, right? I believe that if you want to get really good, if you want to get really good folks that can and really shine in those roles, don't treat them as like second class parts of the company. 50 said John said, Shifty, along those lines, I've seen quite a few games chase the competitive scene to try and get Twitch numbers up, thinking it's more visibility, more customers, but it almost always ended in the opposite. The bread and butter of the game, casual, semi-serious customers would leave or spend less. Yeah. how can you get the quiet majority to engage, or why don't they want to engage? A lot of times they're not engaging, they're not engaging in chitter chatter because they're engaging in playing the game, right? And that goes back to like the qualitative versus quantitative analysis. You know, because you can definitely get caught in some weird feedback loops with data analysis, but there is something to be said about the story that is being told if you're doing the right sort of analysis, and have the right understanding of your game or whatever. The story that's being told by the silent majority in that case, right? Data science ninja said, did someone say data analysis? Yeah, I did. I'm probably speaking from a much more kind of like Luddite point of view than you know, when it comes to this stuff. So forgive me if I'm saying anything kind of whack. Tempura said, I like how Final Fantasy XIV's done stuff with raid, story mode that is expected to be beaten by most players and introduce mechanics, then savage mode for players who want strong challenge and growing those mechanics, then ultimate fights for the top 0.1% of players. I think it's great for their game. I think it, but it's, I think it requires you to do some things as a developer that I don't know that we personally want to do. So it would be a bit trickier. I think there's got to be something to be said about having an honest relationship in dialogue with the players and kind of going at like, hey, if you're 0.01% of the you know, in your example, you're like, you know, 0.1% of the player base, we're not necessarily going to make a special game for you. You may be acceptable churn, right? Like if you don't want to roll up an alt, if you don't want to come back and play some of the other parts of the game or hang out and wait for the next thing that may come out for you or whatever, it's okay if you quit. You know, come back. We want you to come back, but it's okay. Right? Like I think that conversation has to be had sometimes. This idea of keeping all the people all the time forever. I don't know that it leads, you know, leads to good places necessarily. Dark Inside asks, how did y'all do super speed, particle effects, and DCUO? I don't know if it changed after I left, but I discovered a really dope ass way to do super speed particle effect. And it was super simple. I think I mentioned this before actually. So what we wound up doing was, because we had, oh, you know what? You're talking about like player super speed. I think they were just effects. Because player super speed's actually relatively slow compared to what I consider like actual super speed. So, when you're super speeding, you're just playing an effect as you're running or whatever. But I was working on something with either Flash or Superman. I think it may have been Superman. And I wanted them to go from like point A to point B and have it feel like a superhero. And we had two different abilities within the like AI or within the tool. So we can make you move from A to B, and we could adjust the move rate. And so we can max out move rate. And then you'd zoom over there if you're a Superman. And then we would just have like a particle effect attached to you, and you'd zoom over and cool. But then we also had basically a go-to or a warp. And so it would teleport you from here to there. And so for a split second, you would blink out of existence, and then you would be over in the next spot. And I found that anytime we wanted something to just seem like it was badass, super fast, the go-to was just never going to be fast enough. Or I'm sorry, the the move rate accelerator or whatever, the move rate manipulator wasn't going to be fast enough. You could always see them move. And so I stopped using that, and I just started using basically the warp to the next spot. But before the character warped, I found out that I could fire a particle effect that was essentially like a static particle effect with a decay of like 1 second. And so I could put 2 particle effects, like a red and blue, with a decay of like 1 second that trigger right as Superman's going to warp. And so he'd go from here to here instantly, and then the particle would just catch up with him. Right? And I can manipulate the decay time on the particle to make it look as, you know, tune it to make it feel right. And then have an impact when he landed. You know, ideally, he's warping over here and punching somebody. So it's like warp explosion with the color catching up to him very quickly, or, you know, zooming to something and hitting something, or landing and doing the smash effect or whatever. So that's what I started doing. I don't know how much of that survived after launch and after I was laid off and all that shit, but that was the way to make things most impactful looking, in my opinion. So that was the hacks at the time. Dargis said, I don't think money alone solves the problem, because it's often an undesirable job too. So someone that's highly capable likely can make that money elsewhere and not deal with the headache. But it's a good way to recognize the value of people in a tough spot. Yeah, I mean, yeah, no, I don't think it's an easy problem to solve. Right? Because you're right. It could be that people that are maybe would be best suited to doing that job really well could do other jobs really well. And who knows, that may be one of those great areas where something like a well-tuned chatbot can actually give us good information on that front, right? Like, chatbot, what are the players really thinking? I don't know, we'll see. Based on the output that I've been seeing, though, I don't think it's going to happen anytime soon. Because chatbots, they look like they're good at summarizing what they feel is important data that's either not been weighted, and so the weight is inherent to the data set, and so the more chitter chatter actually leads to them sort of weighting its relevance or importance higher, or it has to be they have to be more manually taught, and so then an external input, i.e. people's opinions, are helping to train them to then weight what is important. And now you've inherently introduced bias into the system, at which point I'm kind of like, let's just use people then. And I think people have better intuition if you get the right people, right? And they don't need to be like, hey, do you want to not be a rocket surgeon in order to work as a, you know, in the earlier years of your career in this section of our company? You know, they can, like, it can be just people that are up and coming and you know, or people that are, I think, I'm curious, I don't know, maybe I'm full of shit. What are your opinions on this? I think there are going to be a lot more people that are older, like people that would have 20 years ago or 30 years ago been retired, that are a bit older, that have some life experience, have some wisdom, have kind of mellowed out a bit, that are then going to be looking for opportunities to do remote work and stuff, and not just be like a Walmart greeter, but don't necessarily want to, you know, they don't want to continue in the career that they had. They want to do something 10 hours a week or 20 hours a week, or maybe, you know, whatever, full time, but just kind of on their terms or whatever. And I think there's a lot of folk that will probably fall into that category, that are in a situation where they're partially, you know, subsidized by previous work or retirement, or they're in a life situation that allows them to necessarily not have to, you know, they're not aggressively trying to continue to grow like a bigger and bigger income or whatever, that wind up, yeah. Anyways, you know where I'm heading with it. And I do think that the distributed work model is helpful in that regard. Logger 119 says, "Why shouldn't you tell secrets in a cornfield? Too many ears." Dad joke of the day. Did you watch Last of Us yesterday? Is that what happened? But it's a good joke. Lager. Think of bad... Lager. Okay. Sorry. I'm in Germany right now, so I read lager because I'm just going to read beer first. Gulo knows what's up. You might need AA. LMAO. No, it didn't work. Sean with emotionless expression. It's a good joke. Get some beers in me and I'll giggle it up. All right. So I'm going to do this really quick. Since I'm not necessarily working. Well, I'm working. I'm on the clock. Let's see. Let me get into our actual client. It'll run a little bit smoother. I'll make a tune and I'll play some. Why couldn't the bad sailor learn the alphabet? Because he always got lost at sea. Lagger. That's a good one. Interesting. Oh no, it tricked me. It paused for a second. I was like, let me restart this. It tricked me. Gulo says, humans have strange biases. For instance, if you ask the question, do the majority of highly intelligent people use more words or less to prove a point? The person responded with, highly intelligent people tend to have larger vocabularies, so they will tend to know words that better describe the nuance of some difference without having to expand it into simpler terms. But I imagine there's not much difference overall. Commander Lunacia says, depends. Sometimes people spam a thesaurus to seem more intelligent, while others use actual academic language as appropriate to the situation. That's where I was going to head with it. Knowing your audience and making stuff as accessible as possible with regards to how you're conveying certain... Okay, don't look. I actually don't know my other password anymore. I'm gonna have to get Ali to reset it. Development server. I won't go on test. Connect. I have checked out the dressing room. I was checking that out earlier, Keith. That's why I commented. I replied about the dressing room to you. I'm gonna wait to show it on here until I'm a little bit better at using it, so I can make it look as cool as possible. Thoughts on adding a hairstylist NPC to the game that lets people change their hair? I think that's fine. I liked it in Star Stable.
WoW subbed for 24 months. Capitalism sure is strong in the stream of this dated-looking game, haha. Just kidding, lol, please don't ban me.
How dare you, Ishiwatari? What class should I play? I'm gonna hop in and play for a little bit. What class should I play? Okay, now that people are actually here, just a reminder, today and Thursday will be my last 2 streams for like 2 weeks. I'm gonna be in Florida visiting my family for a couple of weeks. Okay, so we have two for Wizard. Yeah, Turnip. I hate leaving you guys, but my mom really wants to see me every couple of years. All right, so two votes for Wizard. I'm not going to name him Harry. Any chance I'll be near Dothan? Unfortunately, no. It's going to be down Central Florida. I'll swing by Maine for some snow. Oh, man. I wish it was easier. All right. Grumpy says, I'm in Central West Florida. Oh, right on. On the coast or Central West? When you say west, I just immediately go to the coast because Florida's so skinny. Hey, Melody. Yeah, I'm Pasco. Right on. My parents told me the weather's pretty decent compared to what we're used to. All right, Wizard. I think I've briefly played a Wizard before. If I'm playing a Wizard, he needs different hair. And hair color. The Wizard has some banging abs. Yep. Your parents are in the Villages, Florida? Is that near Ocala? Yeah, my parents live in Ocala. Or around there. All right. A good time of year to be in Florida, not so hurricaney right now. Yeah. Okay, so these guys, Wizards, Luna is working on Wizard stuff right now. Factional lore, and then she'll be doing, excuse me, she'll be doing the... Ooh, see how much smoother this client runs? Isn't that nice? It's it feels so buttery compared to running an editor, but I find the editor very convenient. All right, so I don't think there's any quests and stuff. I can go get my starter tunic though. Did I write that or Nick? You can try turning this note into your spell class merchant to get a starter tunic, but no promises. The first part, I think Nick did these, but the no promises, I'm not sure. We got Flame Burst. We got Minor Spell Shield. We got Arcane Infusion. Tight. Go ahead and get that memmed over to slot 1. Spell Shield, slot 5. Hey, Keebs. Arcane Infusion is... we'll go with 4, so it's still out of the way. What's Dedilio here? Okay. Mana regen by 1 for 30 minutes. Yeah, so it's nice and out of the way. You guys coming together? Nice progress? Well, thank you for that. This part's still very placeholder. When we start actually implementing the UI and focus on it, I'm going to be very excited. We're going to do that a little bit later, probably in a couple months, because right now the way that things were built, we've got multiple UIs. I think we've got like 4 different UI systems being used right now. Ali said we're going to consolidate that into, I think, one system that is a little bit easier to develop for. We're starting to do some little bits of aesthetic stuff, like if you look at the ability bar here. You can see it, and you can see the wonderful icons that Goblin's been working on. If you check out the latest update, which hopefully all of you have clicked your email, checked out the update, you can see the sheet of icons that we have so far. So that's coming along nicely. Goblin's put in a new book. Great for our first iteration. We'll be playing with this more as we go. We got Ali's wonderful bookmark tab still. So, and then there's a lot of functionality and stuff that I'm excited about for our UI. If you go back, I think it's like 2 or 3 updates ago, there's like a little demo video that Goblin did for the UI. I'm hoping it turns out to be an interesting character sheet in terms of the level of customization that we allow for and things that you can do, and then some of the features that we have in terms of like the item ledger and social ledger and stuff like that. So we'll see. For now, I'm very tempted to go do my starter quest, see if there's somebody I can actually turn this into. But first, let me show you some pretty spell effects by buffing myself. Why isn't the screen covered in the spell book? We're just not very classic. Sorry, Zube. Remember in EQ, when you inspected someone, there was a place to put in text? Well, you guys had something similar for RP Flare? Yeah, we've got that. Oh, it's not here actually. If you look, if you check out the thing that I was just mentioning here, let me bring it up. It'll be easier for you, and I'll give you guys a link. Let me find the specific update. Monsters and memories update. Let's go to that page. Development update. Then let's go to was it this one? No, I think this is a little bit later. That was actually the paper doll. That's a great image. I never see that pop up on the splash screens. Are all the images in the splash screen directory, Keith? Because it's odd. I feel like I see in it, maybe it's just bad RNG. I feel like I see a lot of the same images when I'm zoning and stuff. And I know we got a bunch. Can't wait to update our website and make it more beautiful. More like a game manual. Last month. Okay. Cool. We're finally gonna see it. It shows the same image every time when it displays lore. Why does it do that, Keith? All right, so here, check it out. All right. So go back. You can see he's... So this was just like a mock-up that... I can randomize it, but a lot of the images didn't make sense based on the lore that was describing. What do you think? The lore is kind of all over the place, so I would randomize both. I think it'll be fine, Keith. So anyways. So we're talking about having the ability to sort of expand and minimize different aspects of the UI. We'll have different tabs which allow for different functionality. So like this would be an example of the ledger. An item ledger. You have the ability, so there's like the character description section of it. You'd have the ability to pull the tabs out so that they'd be their own unique window. So a lot of what I was looking at was like, how does a web browser currently work? So why can't we have like our character sheet, sort of like this core main UI work similar to a web browser, where if you've got tabs, you can split it off and actually just have it be a unique window that you can then open and close separately. And then maybe embed parts of it. So if you like the functionality and you want to have multiple things at a glance, like you've got all the usual stuff over here, right? Do you want to maybe have that be a mix? And so give you the ability to kind of mix and match and make your initial, when you bring it up, kind of like what you see look the way you want it to. So that's the thought. We'll see what happens when we actually start digging into it. But what I was hoping was that we could hit something that's got a lot of functionality and then is very much a easy to customize for anybody that's like used a web browser. So once we get in there and start making it, though, we'll see if that's just crazy talk. How much freedom do we plan with the UI? Any plans for allowing custom UIs or going to keep everything default? It's gonna be a discussion we're really gonna have to run through in more detail with the team. Just my concern is us getting to the point where we make it just too easy for folks to get to modify things in a way that may have an impact on gameplay. That's my main concern. Beyond that, it's the idea of custom UIs, you know, the idea of being able to personalize your game experience. You know, we want to make as good a defaults as possible, but community always has an ingenious way of doing things. Like that type of stuff. Super for, right? Love it. The concern I have is when there's so much functionality exposed via like the API or whatever that it can really start to have a significant impact on gameplay, which then trickles down to everybody potentially. Right? Like everybody shouldn't have to have the latest mods in order to play our game. That's the main concern I have. That's my only real concern. There's a great video. There's a great video called "Why It's Bad," like "Why It's Bad to Suck at WoW" or something like that. Do you know the video I'm talking about? I found that I thought it was a really, really solid video on this topic. Let me scroll up and find it really quick. But I actually feel like this is a really important video. It's actually a really... Why it's rude to suck at Warcraft. Copy link. Here. And someday I may sit down and just sort of run through some of the things that stood out to me and talk about them. Why it's rude. Yep. Why it's rude. Thanks, guys. There's a link right there to the video. You don't want people to gain advantage because of mods. And the weird thing is I'm less worried about people gaining advantage because of mods, because then that sounds like, oh man, you're beating our game because of mods, and it's like competitive between developer and player. And that's not really it. What's concerning is if the optimal way to play the game is because of like due to mods, then that's where it's now affecting everybody, right? Like if only a subset of the player base want to play in a certain way, and it never has a trickle down effect. Okay. But the reality is it's going to make more people either want to use them or just feel like they have to use them. And that's the concern. That's my personal concern. Hey, artificial guy. Somebody said something up there and I wanted to respond back to it. Oh, with regards to UI and stuff, like the theme. Yeah, we definitely want to have like a old school look. We'll be playing around with that. But then just have a lot of cool functionality. I haven't dug in, but I felt like what do we got here? Cool. I know what I'll do. I'll just run this and complete the quest really quick. I haven't seen it personally. I need to dig into it. But I thought the description of like the flexibility of UI customization for Dragonflight was sounding good. Thanks, Fabrizio. Spell effects are coming along nicely. Oh, cool. Oh, wait, that's for the Inquisitor quest. That's right. Inquisitors have this spell as well, so I don't need it. Oh, I guess I could have given it to an Inquisitor. Hey, Big Bad, Jeff. What's been up with you? Can you play as an Erudite? Or does Erudite have another name in this game? We're calling Erudites humans in this game. Is music too low? How about now? I absolutely have the volume cranked when I'm playing a necromancer, just because then you get to hear all the skeleton laughs and the spooky summoning sound and all that. Yeah, so on one hand, part of it is those of you that haven't been around for a while. Sorry, I had the options window open the whole time. You missed Pattis's wonderful changes to the environment. Well, we have Dark Elves / Drow. Grumpy, we have we've got Dark Elves. They're most commonly named Deep Elves because they live in the deep. But you may run into some characters in game that will call them Dark Elves. Yeah, I mean, to the point of like the damage meter, I think in the past I've stated like, I hate the idea that the folks in groups are looking at a damage meter and then potentially punting you based on that. It's not the right vibe. Nick's made the point that depending on the gameplay, is it really going to be right? Because you've got damage meters available for you in EQ and everywhere else. And you don't necessarily, it's not as stressful, right? And the point I think he's made is like, if the gameplay is not really incentivizing or pushing that level of optimization with DPS or heals or anything else, then it's not as big a deal. And if you allow for that type of meter to be available for people that are playing certain types of content, then is it really that big deal? And I can actually see that. Right. So I would like to think that the game that we're going to end up providing people with is not something where it makes a ton of sense for you to be staring at the damage meter for the most part, right? It's just you're not trying to power through an instance dungeon as quickly and as efficiently as possible, right? You're sitting there and you're camping, you're grinding. You're grinding. Fabricio said, this game is not even out yet. Your music gives me a huge wave of nostalgia and familiarity. Applauds for Sean and team. Applauds to Robert. Robert's music master. Adele elves. Because of the deep? Are those portals you can travel with? Yeah, so they're little teleport pads that we've set up. Do I have a... I wonder if, until we actually put this guy in, I wonder... You want this? Yeah, lucky guess. Dusty blue robe. Oh, I can't wait to put that on. Nice. Look at me. I'm beautiful. Dusty roads. I mean, robe. I was trying to explain Dusty Roads to my wife over the weekend. British Columbia asks, how many levels are there and how long will it take to level? We currently support 60 levels. We'll see. We'll see how that goes. How long it will take will be, that'll be a tuning question. Up. Oh, I don't know that I want to try that. Will this game make use of more than 2 cores of your CPU? I'm assuming yes. Yeah, I thought DQ addressed that. Oh man, now I'm in this big ass library. I don't even know that I need to be. Any ETA for release? British Columbia, BC, if I may. We're just working through proof of concept as fast and as hard as we can this year. So we'll see. We want to get you folks in for some public play tests so you can kind of check out, you know, first few levels on your own. So we're going to be pushing to see if we can get that to happen in the next couple of months. We're currently running friends and family in an effort to get as much of the low-hanging fruit and kind of like figure stuff out and get the game as stable as possible before then. And then where we go this year, we don't know. Like in terms of how close we get to release, what release is going to look like, timing, all that. But we're definitely going to, you know, we're going to keep streaming the progress and hanging out with you guys and showing it as we go. But, you know, it's, you can see every texture is a placeholder texture. We're still blocking stuff out. You know, things are coming along nicely and we're super proud of where we're at, but we're not, you know, we're also not necessarily trying to trick anybody into thinking that the game is further along than it is or anything of that nature. Guard walked through a wall. Did he? And I'm not in the editor at the moment. I tried to clean up all of the paths that I could find. Pattis has been continuing to block things out and reorganize and do cool stuff with the various areas. So I've had to redo some pathing here and there. All right. You're sold as soon as I equipped the dusty blue rope. Right on. Pattis is making an empire. Yeah. Like, Pattis, you still feeling comfortable with the scale of the city? We good? Yes. And he just keeps going. Like, awesome. We'll make use of it. Mana Stone for or against? I'm gonna say 4. Oh wait. Is this the... City is so huge it could be one separate game. What if it was the start of the game? Okay, there isn't a door there. Cool. So we're gonna be slowly filling this up with stuff to do. It's actually one of the locations was something I kind of wanted to bang on a little bit on stream today, but you know how it is. Oh, how many people have like never seen the city at all? How many people are... What time is it in game? It's a lot prettier at night time. 11 a.m. Oh, we've got a while. I can come back in a bit. Let me see if I can not die. Okay. 1 damage is not bad. When I was EQ customer service, did I hear the story of how Povar server got banned from GM events for a few years? No. I could have sworn Povar was a reasonably well-behaved server. I thought the GM. I could have sworn the GM of Povar, his real name was James, and he was a super sweet kid. Very nice guy. Top guilds on our server would fight so hard and got so toxic they kill all the GM NPCs as soon as they showed up. Oh man. Well, will players be able to add surnames to their characters? Yes. Yep. Can already do it. Let me sell a few things. So, you know what? I'll just keep killing bats and rats. So all that stuff stacks, so that's fine. Is that too loud now? Yeah. May have gotten a little too overconfident with those couple of first kills being so easy. Let me go see what this sells for. Need to change my drawers? No, I've got a robe on. No drawers to change. Hey there. What does one of these rat eyeballs sell for? 1 silver, 6 copper. Well, then they're absolutely worth picking up. 2 silver for the tooth. What? 1 silver for the bat fur. Everything sells for a damn silver. Except for that rat ear, which was 1 copper. Apparently, you can't make as good as stuff out of rat ears. Oh, the rat parts are very, very cheap. These other parts are super, I think they're probably a little too good. High demand. But if you gotta pay 1 platinum for a bottle of olive oil, jeez, inflation. You hear skittering as I enter the tavern? Yeah, we're gonna work on that. There's actually some stuff down here to kill. Let's see. I kind of enjoy the fact that evil players can farm good NPCs and vice versa in EQ. Oh yeah, so there's actually going to be, and this kind of goes into what Olga's saying with regards to judging from the way I talk about how the cities might be an M&M. You may not I don't think you want to ruin your faction in Night Harbor. Yeah, well, it could be that there's different factions within Night Harbor. So you could kind of play the part of being a little bit more sketchy or a little bit more good, and then find that there's certain areas that you don't want to go into anymore in Night Harbor. But still have like a generally good faction. So we're going to be doing a lot more faction work in the next month or so. So that you can kind of get a feel for there'll be areas that you don't want to go into. You could faction up with those areas so that they're more accessible to you, but then you're going to lose faction in other areas. There may be factions with the guards of different types that you can kind of balance, that type of stuff. So. The only problem at level 1 is if this fight goes a little bit sideways, I mean, I can run it back upstairs, but bam. Okay. Sound distance for beetles, maybe bring them 2 meters in this area. Yeah, there's a couple little tweaks that we've got to do there. That's cool, like the seedy underbelly or the hoity-toity area. Yeah, exactly. And then there may just be some gangs or factions that like each other, dislike each other, stuff. So. Pezzy said, I had a lot of fun and EQ has a good character doing with my evil friends in good, evil, heavy areas. One of us would go in first, describe what they found, and figure out if it's worth trying to get the other person in, hiding outside an evil town while they ran in to give me rations. Yes, I love that. We're going to be encouraging that sort of gameplay for sure. To the point of, and we discussed this a lot in the past, but it hasn't come up as much recently. We're looking at the ability for any player to start at any racial city, but maybe not necessarily in it. It may be near it in some cases. It may be in it if there's a specific area. It may be less dangerous, more dangerous. But the caveat is, if you decide that you want to start as a traveler, so like in your case, Pezzy, you want to be able to start near your friend, you guys would decide which city you start at. And if they start at your city, then you have everything available to you that you would want. They won't. If you start at their city, then they'll be able to have their starter quests available and stuff like that, but you won't. And then there'll be different routes or different opportunities to potentially get access to some things, or, you know what I mean? But so you can start together, but you're not going to get comparable experiences. Now, some people can argue, but it was better when you then had to travel across the world in order to meet up initially or whatever. I just don't feel that that's as compelling an argument as the argument of friends want to start together quickly, and then you would actually have that journey in the opposite way. Like, you could start together and you would make the journey for the first time together, right? So you would start, so like John would start as an ogre near a gnome city so that he can continue to harass gnomes. His gnome friend would then be able to say, hey, okay, I've got everything I need. I've done starter quests or whatever. Let's run over to the ogre city. And then you would go on your epic journey to the ogre city for the first time. Hey, Fat Matt. Journeys together is why I'm here. Bilbo, and you've got such a perfect name for it as well. All right. So we've actually got some mixed reports. Some of it was due to some of it was due to some tuning stuff that we're still working through in friends and family. What I'm about to say is not by any means a criticism of anybody's feedback. So please keep that in mind. But I did find it interesting that we got a lot of people before friends and family that are just watching the stream, and they're talking about what makes for a classic experience and what did they like and what are some of the challenges they had to overcome in playing like old school MMOs, and how much did that add to their experience or whatever. And then as we got people in for friends and family, there's a number of there's a fair amount of feedback that's like essentially counter to the things that we've been saying this whole time, and by we I mean, you know, community as well, you folks. It's just like, if this was just a little bit clearer, or if it was easier to understand what to do or where to go here, if we had more direction, if it wasn't quite as dark, if I couldn't die at level 1, right? And so it's been really interesting to see what everybody's been saying for a couple years, and then seeing what actually happens when people are dealing with it again, dealing with it firsthand. And I know those things aren't necessarily mutually exclusive, but it has been interesting. I say that as that Ashira, what is that, a warrior over there, gets uncomfortably close to me. Let's see. Will we be able to teleport between cities at higher levels? Like if your faction with the wizard skill is high, you can use their teleporter. Probably not so much. That's primarily going to be driven by player interaction. There may be some slow transports, like taking a boat upriver to a different city, taking a boat upriver through the deep. Yes, underground rivers. I'm so excited for underground rivers and seas. To get to another city, that type of thing. So there'll be some slow transport, hopping on a caravan maybe, but like fast transport will be player driven. Ethical Malene Joyer says, hi, hello. Saw people mentioning this game after checking out the Legends of Old game. A good time to be a retro enthusiast. Good luck to all. Happy to see good games being made. Well, thank you very much. Pezzy says, feedback makes sense. It's presumably similar to what EQ got in 2000 to 2004 that led to other games like WoW and later games. Yeah, I mean, it makes sense if you're wanting to then move the feel towards WoW in other games. But personally, I'd be pretty wary of that, right? Like that idea of building rough edges in to create a specific feel, only to get rid of them immediately to then get to the feel that everybody was like, but all the games feel the same. It's a rough spot to be in. Okay with your community, or possibly alienate them by trying to get new players. Well, but the comments actually related to the fact that the community is the one giving the new player feedback. Air quotes, new player. I think if EQ had gotten feedback from people who have played 20 years of other games, it wouldn't have been made like it was. Yeah, but then we wouldn't have had that game that we actually like the feel of. Weird, huh? Bananatron said, how is fam and friends audience selected? Do you think they are the target? I think it's a mix of everybody that is, everything from the target through some people who aren't the target. Or maybe haven't had the traditionally had the experience that we had with early MMOs or games like EQ or Deoc or whatever. Interestingly, I would say some of the feedback that we've received from a couple people who this style of game really wasn't their jam going into it, they've provided the feedback that feels the most like the experience that, you know, a lot of us had back in the day, which has been really encouraging. So we may find that it's actually a little bit tougher to provide the experience that we're hoping to provide to people who have had the experience before, but then people who haven't had the experience before actually enjoy and appreciate that old school experience. Does that make sense? But there is at least one sort of accounting and evolution, and then different comments that I have both read and then received directly from one of our friends and family members that just had me like, yes, that is the experience. I was so excited to watch the evolution of their sort of understanding of the game and just appreciation of some of what we're trying. So, but I do firmly believe in the idea that the more we kind of compromise on some of the stuff that does just feel counterintuitive or overly punishing or overly tedious or overly, I don't know. It's, you know, a lot of folks will mention, you know, hey, this wasn't good game design in 1999. Why are you doing it now? Right? Like, I get that, but it's not like we're just blindly emulating something. There's a lot of these decisions where it's like, hey, I understand why this is considered air quotes bad these days, but I know the feel that it creates. I know how it plugs into the overall feel of what we're making. And as much as it seems like we could fix this and not have it impact the overall feel, I disagree. We can fix it later if I'm wrong, that kind of thing. And so, yay, level up. So my concern is if we continue to, like, if we compromise in a number of areas, we'll really not be providing, it won't be a unique experience, and we're too small of a team. But what we're selling is a unique experience. It is dark now. Personally, you don't want exactly P99. I want elements of that game, and I want some rough edges, for example. I don't want map markers, but I do want location descriptions and text to work it out rather than just find someone. And I think that's fair. And we've even put in some additional systems to help on that front. Though sometimes I think part of the fun is, you know, find so and so. The fun part is find, right? Otherwise, it's just a task. It's here, go to this point, right? And you shouldn't, you know. Someone said it on Thursday, I think, had a really good way of describing it, right? Essentially, it's a chore instead of a quest, or something like that. Gnarl09 says, If it has swig style crafting resource harvesting, I'm in. We'll be putting a lot more effort into crafting. Ali is a big fan of swig and UO. Luna's got some wonderful ideas for crafting as well. We've got some preliminary stuff already in, and we've got some resource gathering and a bit of crafting, but we'll be iterating on that and focusing on it a bit later. But we've got a chunk in for now, you know, and it's getting us started. Are there going to be maps in game? There may be maps that are just images, so you can acquire a map that allows you to see a drawing of the zone, but there's not going to be any. Yeah, no GPS or anything like that. BC says it does that. It does, and that is exactly why I'm excited for it. I never played EQ or had that real old school experience, but I played WoW for far too long, and I'm trying to recreate that feeling we once had. Yeah, there's an interesting... It will definitely be interesting to see how folks that didn't play like EQ and stuff like that back in the day wind up feeling about some of these decisions. Let's see. Nobody's online for me to give this to, so I'll do that. I'm gonna sell really quick. Because it's dark, so bat tooth, rat ear, bat fur. I've got cloth scrap, great. I will use survival skills a bit later. I'll buy a survival kit and gather up some materials for torches. For now, let me go buy one. Sorry, just checking something real quick in Slack. Since heading, yeah, I believe we've got a true north spell in. We'll probably put in a since heading type thing. Believe it or not, it's not super hard to figure out. Now it's tougher in a dungeon, fair enough. Tougher in a dungeon, but I think in a dungeon you kind of learn the layout. Outdoors, I quickly learn that the sun comes up over here, it travels in an arc and goes down over there. Mountains are north, ocean is south. Smoke signals to guide your teammates.
Well, look who we have here.
Hey, Cindercroft. Dang. Thank you for 9 months. We've talked about the idea of being able to like have little flares and things to pop up, be it spells, be it a little adventuring item of some sort, like a little wand of location. We could put a wand of location in. Shit like that. So, are these torches? What else you got? Animal glue. Where did that come from? Exciting. I don't even know what that does. A fish scaler. Wonderful. I'm gonna buy a torch. It's expensive, I know. But if I feel like I really need it, then I can use it. I'm gonna use it wisely. Summoning a raven to fly to their location, guide them back to the sky sounds pretty awesome. That is pretty awesome. Toot Master, good job. Yeah, so those are the types of solutions that we're liking, right? I think that is cool stuff. Let's focus on doing that before we, you know, we're putting in a lot of shit that's kind of like, oh man, this is kind of a bit of a kick in the butt, or you know, it's a pain, blah blah blah. But the idea is we put those things in. Inventory restrictions, having to go to certain merchants to sell certain stuff, you know, making weight matter, food and drink matter, all of this stuff, darkness. We put all that stuff in so that you can learn how to mitigate that. And then over time, feel a better sense of mastery of the world because you've got more and more tools at your disposal to mitigate these things. Making the world feel real a little bit, right? But we're not, because then people would say, well, we're not really making a simulation, and that's fair. But what we're doing is we're making progress feel valuable, right? Like a tangible place. Yeah, the world is definitely providing a context in which you hopefully have that sort of appreciable growth and power and skill. The darkness on whatever server you're playing on now seems less dark than test server at night. Maybe it's not less dark, way less glare from different elements interacting. It is the same. It is just the same. It may look a bit brighter on my screen. My screen settings may be different, and my hardware may be different. So in my opinion, like on my screen, it could stand to be darker. On my screen, not necessarily for anybody else. For me, on my screen, it's not dark. And I think that's a hardware thing that we've got to figure out. In the dungeon, it does get dark. Eon Prism says, I actually like the old school look. It helps mitigate the visual tedium of playing modern games that all have garish highlighting and outlining in every overly detailed realistic worlds. Yeah. We're continuing to iterate. We're gonna have a wonderful conversation tomorrow about characters and character textures and stuff. And so take them to that next level, if you will. But just generally speaking, I'm happy with how we're moving forward with this. Naturally, it's still early. There's still some bugs and things that need to be done and tweaked and added and all that. But it's going in the right direction. All this needs now spaghetti. Fat Matt, every time you come in here, you give me craving spaghetti. I gotta tell my dad about you when I'm in Florida. Yep, I agree on all of your comments about realism above. Mehmet Rice says, I feel like this game is going to be a hidden gem nowadays. There are a lot of people moving from game to game because of the boredom hits or the satisfaction from playing just isn't there. Having a game utilizing newer tech but it's still allowing you to immerse yourself in the world and feel like you're a part of that world is going to be a huge addition to MMO world. Wouldn't that be cool? That'd be pretty cool. I'd be pretty excited for us if that happens. You never know. Dangerous out here. All you need is Michael Bay explosions and J.J. Abrams lens flare. We've got time. We'll fix it in post. A little dangerous out here. A little sketchy. Interrupted. Do you feel we have a good balance between programming, creative, and art? I think so, but honestly, that's not a question for me. I hope the team feels that there's a good balance. So definitely ask the team more questions about that. I feel like we've got a good balance because Ali is very creative and also artsy, and is the anchor point for our tech. I'm always in the artist's business, which they may or may not like, but it's just the way it is. And what do we got here? Wood. Good. Probably should have been just saving for a bag instead of we'll do it this way. I want some resin and some wood. Yeah, I don't know. I feel like we've got a good balance because we're very open with each other for the most part. I mean, some people are a little bit quieter, a little bit more reserved. But we tend to be pretty open with our opinions on stuff. And we communicate a ton. For being a part-time team distributed across like 7 time zones, we do a very good. I feel like we do a very good job of just constantly having some communication going on. Is it Wikipedia or Wikipedia? German pronunciation, the I is before the E, so it would sound like an E. I can't remember if you explained that to me before or not. But anyway, you asked, where are we on races, classes, factions designed? Night Harbor faction, class factions are in progress. The overall races, we've got some good lore and understanding of them, but that'll be refined as we go for sure. And let's see, classes, I think we've got a great starting point for them, and then there's naturally going to be more discussion figuring it out. One thing to keep in mind is just that as we go, naturally we'll be tuning and taking in feedback and getting more elaborate in certain areas, and as we get a better understanding of them, fleshing them out and all of that. But pronounced like the website? All right, Wikipedia. Boom. Work. Keith feels like we have a great balance on the team. Are there going to be spells that shoot projectiles instead of being summoned onto opponent? Like bolts? Yeah, I believe so. Keith, hold on. I just saw your question. Yeah, let me see if I can figure out how to do this. Actually, let me ask you a question. Do we have an RP person? My favorite MMO memories were playing with others who were in character if in game, but modern MMOs don't really have good tools, advancement, feedback, or even respect for such players, I feel. I think a few people on the team actually fall into that bucket. Where is this trainer? Sojourner Hound, why are you on the top of the tent? Crazy. Alright, that's not happening anytime soon. That's expensive. It has a high degree of wolfiness. Nice. Oh, silly Doge. All right. I wonder if I can take a jackal pup now. Nice. That worked. Didn't even cost me that much mana. I feel a bit OP, to be honest. I think it's... I think it might be the mana regen next then. Custom on that. Yeah, I think visual landmarks are pretty important. Especially ones that give you a sense of build in like a sense of wanting to eventually get someplace. or come back to a place, or... Oh shit, time has flown by. I wasn't even planning on looking. If I had not just opened and closed Slack, I would not have seen the time. Wow. Oh man. A 24-hour robot stream? The last 24-hour thing I've done, at least gameplay wise, I don't know if I've done anything non-gameplay wise. Last 24-hour game thing I did was when it was me and Keebs and Bobby Bick and Zaid and I thought Pied and someone else did the TLP level 1 to 50 unassisted in 24 hours. And I'll be honest, that was a great reminder of how much I like sleeping. I was just like, oh, I was so tired and just, oh, I was having to like stand up and do air squats and all sorts of shit to be able to stay awake. Bobby fell asleep. Maybe we can get a double-sized stream on Thursday before vacation. Let me see how the week's going. Let me see how the week goes. If things are good and we're packed and ready to go and Jasmine's not stressed, maybe I'll do a but the thing is, for it to be double-sized, I'd have to do it in the evening through my dinner and stuff because you guys don't want to wake up 3 hours earlier. Fairly certain. I could be wrong, but I'm fairly certain. I mean, I could just stream and it'd just be me in here for an additional 3 hours and you can watch the VOD, I guess. Some of us do not sleep. Alright, we'll see. We'll see. Attack an hour on the front end, an hour on the back end. Oh, he exploded. I was like, why did it suddenly get quiet? Immature snake venom sac. No longer a poison sac. It's a venom sac. For those of you sac experts out there that were busting my chops about the naming. The pole arm on that Cobalt look cool. Yeah, but I'm not going to mess with that thing yet. Sell. Do you want this? I don't think so. You do? Okay, well. What? Ooh, that price needs to get fixed. I'm going to do that right now before I go anywhere else. That seems... Nah, that's... Oh, man, but they're rare. No, you know what? I'm going to leave it. I'm going to leave it. They're rare. They're a quest item. They're either going to get gobbled up for quest items. Yeah, there's a couple of things that I'm going to do with them just to make it no fun allowed. Dark Tall, listen, I've already gone back on that. I'm leaving it. It's just, they're gonna be a number of ways to, there's gonna be a number of ways that they get bled out of the economy. I have how much can I get for these pelts? Let me go see. I've got an idea for some, temple quests for the various temples that I was writing up earlier today that I want to get in that will provide some utility for the temples, and also then it can bleed some items out fairly regularly. So without going into too much detail, the various temples can provide benefits to you, but they'll do it in exchange for essentially, what's the term? I wrote it down earlier. You know, essentially gifts. So offerings. So there'll be different temples want different offerings, and then they will give you a token that represents their temple that can be exchanged at any temple for different services. So that'll bleed some of these items out as well. 1 silver for the high quality jackal pelt. 1 silver for the medium quality. As you can tell, we'll have to tweak some of these values. So I would be, like I said, I would play on the actual test server, but we've been trying to kind of keep test participants honor their privacy as much as possible, so it doesn't lead to a lot of like people you know, bugging people and going, hey, how did you get in? I didn't get in, and all that kind of stuff, or creating any hard feelings or whatever. So we've been trying to keep that fairly DL. Otherwise, I would be playing on test with other folks, because I think it's really good for you to see that you know, it is multiplayer. We've done some tests with the team in the past, but now I stream so early that the team doesn't really have a chance to play with me. I wonder why some of these animations don't trigger properly. Like, oh, some of the cast animation. Anyways, it'd be nice to show you, like, watching the folks on test do actual like group content in the dungeon has been fantastic. So very excited to see what happens when we have our first open test and get more folks in. Things have been relatively stable, but we also haven't thrown very big numbers at it, so excited to see. Oh shit, oh shit, I'm getting two-shotted. Boom. The one, I stopped paying his attention and it got me. Oh. Well, I'm glad you got to see that. Dark Tall, thank you for the subscription. Death? Now what happens? Well, I have no items. I have no leg. So now, fortunately, I was just right here. It's a harsh world, yes. I can drag my corpse to safety. Drag. Can clerics train at their deity's temple, or will there be one place for training for all clerics in a city? It's a fair question, just from a RP standpoint. We may wind up putting additional cleric trainers into temples as well. But right now they're just in the guild area. So now I gotta remem. I've gotten my items. I've got to remem, and then I'll be good. Are there any definite classes set in stone yet? Is the team thinking of more non-traditional classes? Southpaw, we're fairly set on the ones that we've mentioned so far. If you go to the website's FAQ, it'll list all of them. And then we're hoping to update the website at some point in the future with essentially a little player's handbook so that you can learn more about them and see some nice illustrations and stuff. If you check out this month's update, you can see a few of the illustrations that Goblin's been doing for the website / player handbook, which is pretty dope. There's probably going to be ultra-wide support, I guess, but that's for later stage, etc. I presume. Ultra-wide monitor support. I think some of our friends and family folks are using ultra-wide. I don't know that they're having any issues. I haven't really asked though. Southpaw says, "Oh man, I'm sucker for hybrid spellcasting fighters. Spellblade seems intriguing." Yeah. Check out Spellblade and check out the Inquisitor. Both are pretty cool. All right. Did I just become invisible? I did. Why did I become invisible? Interesting bug. So, it's 5 a.m. So I'm going to risk it all, and I'm going to run down to the shoreline when the sun comes up. It may look cool. We'll see. Avoiding Ashira. Was watching the quest stream. Have you guys considered something like Inky for quest scripting? No, just because I feel like it's probably maybe a bit overpowered for our needs and approach. What we're using right now is fairly straightforward, but allows for some degree of flexibility. And so we're not embedding a lot of the functionality into the quest system itself. The quest is a component that essentially the quest is a layer that utilizes the world. And then we have other systems in the world to provide interesting functionality for the quest. That makes sense. And there's just like a really kind of like dead simple almost means of scripting within our quest dialogue. All right, so I'm gonna you know what, I wonder if I can swim over there and get a better view when the sun comes up for you. My favorite class so far, I think I've probably still appreciated my Inquisitor the most, but I've got a while to figure that one out. I've enjoyed the Necro. I like the Inquisitor. I've enjoyed Cleric, and I think I'll continue to enjoy Cleric. I like being a Cleric. Is there an Enchanter-like class? There is an Enchanter, and then there is an Enchanter hybrid called an Inquisitor. So that traditional sort of like CC focused Enchanter play is absolutely available and being abused by people as we speak. Let me go ahead and cheat. Cool. All right. So we have hit the 3-hour mark. I'm gonna wrap up here and take my dog out and get ready to make some dinner. It is 5 p.m. my time here in beautiful sunny Germany. Thanks everybody for being here. I will be back Thursday, and then Thursday will be the last stream until, let's see, probably like the 28th. So, yeah. Gulu Gulu, thanks for being here. Dark Tall, thank you. Again, appreciate the resub. Esan, thanks, buddy. Appreciate it. I'll probably see you before we take off. MMO Pug, take care. Beer Chug, see you. Bananatron, goodbye. Zube, I will see you soon. Aaron Gunn, you have a good night as well. Jazzman, thank you very much. I will definitely try. Hopefully I'll see you on Thursday. If not, be safe and I'll see you when I get back. Justin Beard, see you, buddy. BDC Retro, goodbye. Melody, Bon Torture, see you. Fabrizio, you're very welcome. Thank you. Cindercroft, Cindercroft, stop being mean to gnomes, but thank you. Other than that, Shifty, I think I said goodbye. You're welcome. If not, you're welcome again. Tootmaster, see ya. Very nice people in this chat. Very nice people in our Discord. I did a horrible job of telling people about the fact that we have a Discord today. So here's our Discord, if you're not aware of it. Mailing list is now over 2,500 people. Sent out an update email yesterday about our update. You can find more information on our website. All of the VODs go on YouTube. Thank you very much. Mehmet Bryce, have a great evening. Is that it? Are we done here? Are we done saying goodbye? Esan, thank you for the gift sub to Shifty. Thank you for gifting 24 subs. Very kind of you. Jan Prism, you have a good one as well. Alright guys, I'm going to wrap up and I will see you on Thursday.